Uh, this video is going to be a short one because I only ported the specific detail page. So first I'll show you the port in action. So these are the pages you saw already. We have the login page. Looks pretty good. You also have the sign up page. For you to sign, once again, this is all written in React on Ionic Framework. I decided to deploy it to a native device so you can actually see what it looks like on a native device. I think once again, shout out to the gentleman who built the UI. Link in the video so you can check out the rest of his stuff. And just remember, I'm only going through the porting the UI first over to React, and then we'll circle back and add functionality. I think after this page that I'm working on now, all it's left to do is the cart, and then we'll start adding some functionality to the back end. And also when we add some functionality, we're going to start to add some things like form validation, because right now you can just basically put anything you want in these fields. So we'll add some form validation and things like that. Nothing's connected, so to actually sign up or sign in, you just click the button, and that's all it takes. All right, so now we're back to sign in. Let's log in. Let's get to the pages. You guys have seen this in the last episode. I noticed that he has no menu functionality in the build that I saw, so we'll come up with something for the menu. We'll implement some basic search. We have the categories here that you can scroll through using Ionic Side. And then once again here, we have some more products. And then we have some featured products down here below. We'll come up with some creative ways to kind of demo and mock this up. So what I've added that's new is the ability to kind of click on a detail page. So here you have a detail page. We have our back button, which is functioning properly. We have our price. This is all just static data in UI. So the interesting things that we did, he has some nice style that he's added to the slide. I like the way he's kind of put the page dots down here in the bottom. I thought they'd be clickable. They're not clickable. Maybe we'll look and see if we can make them clickable. But it's a nice, nice animation, nice style. He's got the title that's here. We have the rating, reviews, and a brief description. Kind of the key part of this port was really the animation and the styling around selecting the size. So you can select the size, and then you can see a nice animation, and you get to slide over, and then you can select the color, and we keep track of it too. You can modify it if you want to. And then the final thing is that, like I said, he has a cart, which we'll work on next. You can click to add the cart, you can just click to buy now. Not really sure what the difference is between the two, but just wanted to show you what this looks like. So this is what it looks like. And I'll put that aside now. We'll kind of expand the screen a bit here. And we can take a look at, if I take a look at the files that were diffed, maybe that'll help us see what changes we've made. So if we start with the app.tsx, so let's see, what did we do? We really just added, let's scroll this over. Looks like all we really did was we added the details page. We added the route. The route stuff should be pretty straightforward. A specific path, the component that we want to use, no parameters, exact true. So let's close that out. The next one is home. So what do we have to do with home? Yeah, for the home page, we needed to bring in history, so you get access to history using use history. That's the approach that I use. Other folks kind of pass it as a parameter. I like to minimize the parameters and pass again. So use history gives me access to history. Then if I scroll down here, oh yeah, I needed to put keys on the slide, just there were multiple slides, and so that's a requirement for React. When you have lists, you get the complaints. Boom, boom. But so here's what I did down here is all we did was on each slide, we added an on-click event. And when the user gets a click, we go straight to the item details. Now, when we're working on the final solution, you'll pass a parameter, which will probably be the product ID that is associated. See this product ID here? We'll pass the product ID so we can make sure we render the appropriate product in a detail. But that's really all we did here. I put the item details on both the featured products and the default products so that you can get an idea of how that will work. And I think where all the magic really happened is, first let's talk about the details page in the SaaS that we're using. So one thing to let you know is I needed to import the node So let's go to my packages. Here in package.json, I needed to add, I needed to add node Sass because I didn't have that by default when you generate a project using Ionic when you're using the Ionic templates to get a React application. So I had to add that afterwards. That's just something that you should keep in mind. And then the other thing that I did, and I'm not sure because, like I said, I'm not an HTML CSS guy. Leave a comment if you know if I'm incorrect. The other thing I did, I had to kind of embed everything in a specific ID for the page, because I was seeing initially that some of the styles were kind of trickling across to other pages. So what I've done is I kind of have this top level object with item.details page, and then everything underneath it. And now if I go to, let's close some of this stuff up. If I go to my items details page, you see right here up at the top, where is it? Oh, sorry, getting my view and React mixed up. Right here up at the top, I set the ID of the page, and then all the styles stick here. All right, so for those folks who are Angular folks taking a look, I'll briefly talk about what I'm doing here. And so with React, a way to manage local state is with uState. We've got a little TypeScript here, and so what I'm saying is that I have 3 state variables that exist inside of this component. They are select size, select color, and active variation. These were I believe they're implemented as local variables in the Angular code. And then this basically the uState, which allows me to call setState to modify this value. When state values change, the pages are re-rendered. And so when we change when you change the size or the selected color, it potentially can impact the active I can't talk. It can change the active variation, which is what we want to cause the screen to re-render. This just says the type that this object of size can be. It can be a number or it can be undefined. Leaving it empty like that makes it default to undefined. So for folks new to React, and also kind of new to Angular, coming over from Angular, the use effect, the best way to look at it is, I think it is component did mount. Right? So basically what this says is when the component did mount, I have no dependencies. If I had a dependency, I'd put it inside of here. Just set the active variation to size. And we want to do that because when this thing fires up, the first time I load this component, I want the default button to be on size. So I set the active variation to size, and you'll see down below that we actually are using active variation to set the default value. Let's take a look at that right now. You scroll down. See, so we're setting active variation to the value. I have to use any because, as you can see, active variation can be a string or undefined, and value doesn't like it being. It says string or null. So I just got lazy and just reassigned it to any. Okay, so now we're back up here at the top. This was some debug code I had in there to kind of see what was going on. So I did have some issues. I did have some issues initially with how the segment was properly getting saved. So I put this in there. All right, so what we have now is, I'll go over the segment change code last because that's the most interesting part because it uses the animation. But basically the rest of this really just is your normal Ionic components. You have your top level page, your header, your toolbar, your class name for your back button, the link to say always go back home. You don't have, just so for folks who are coming over, this is new, you don't have to set a router link. The navigation system that you get with Ionic knows the page that this page came from. And if you just say back button, it knows to go back to the previous page. This says put it in the starting slot, which will give you your back button here. And then you see this button's ends. It basically says all the buttons inside of here, kind of shift them. Let's close this. Shift those buttons all the way over to the right side. And so that's why you get these icons, which you'll find a lot of great use out of the Ion icons, a large selection of them. And then, so we have first this icon, and then I put a little space in there. And then we have our notification icon. And then we wrap our header, and then now we go to the main content. And you're starting off with this first slide here. This is the Ion slides. We have the default set of images that we're rendering in the slides. We have some styles that are created to account for the shape and size of this, and also for these little for the pagination dots down there. All right, we have some more padding style for all this stuff. Nothing interesting here. This is just a straight port of the Angular code. We just had to rename it from the ion hyphen row to kind of the camel case it's supported in React. This is all straightforward stuff, nothing new and exciting. Then we have this ion segment component, which works pretty much the exact same way it works in in Angular. It's really just to keep these two segment buttons that we have right here. That's the purpose of it. The onChange event is called whenever you change the segment, and the value, which one it is, whether it's to select size or select color, is set by the value here, which we're managing with this active variation. The button has its size and its labels, and then this code, when we actually get some real data, will refactor, because if you look at this like this variation selector, so if this variation is size, right? Let's scroll this up. If you look at size, like this is a list of items, right? This should be some sort of map or an array of these various variations. So I implemented another e-commerce solution, and in that solution, we basically have a product, and a product has variations, and a variation is a map of basically what the variation is and the objects that are associated with it, and also potential prices, because sometimes you get a different price based on the variation. So what they're doing here is they're basically saying for each one of these items in this row of variations, this is how you manage the kind of dynamic classes. So basically, this object right here, S, so this object S, has a default. So it has a default. So basically, if the selected size is 1, then we set the class name to be active for this specific item, which is the first item in the array. Otherwise, we just set it to blank. So what this is doing is with these backticks, it allows you to interpret the selected size value and then run this kind of if then else, or kind of ternary, I think ternary operator is what this is called. And as you can see, it's just repeated multiple times. So the proper implementation here would be some sort of loop that generates these items and then is able to determine which one is selected and set the appropriate classes. It's rendering the loop instead of kind of hard coding this array in here. And this variation selector is just duplicated again down here for color, right? It's basically the exact same thing. It's got a specific variation name or type, and then the variations which have some sort of key value that's associated with them. And once again, it just kind of loops through the variation and sets it. And then what this also does here is this identifies, it does some more styling based on if the variation / button is active or not. It does some styling application. So active variation equals color, then it sets the class to active variation. Otherwise, it sets the class. It does not set a class that's associated with it. And that's really all you got. Like I said, this was a short one here. This is something new we haven't seen in other pages. You have a footer, a thing to remember in the footer. The footer goes after the content so that it sticks to the bottom of the page. The columns are the sizes, so it's just kind of splitting it because you have 12 units altogether, and then it's just kind of rendering them across the bottom there. And that's what you got here. Like I said, this was going to be a short one. We will focus on the cart in the next one. Might reach out to the developer to see if there is actually, because I think I saw in the demo that he showed, I actually saw some code for this menu that he had implemented. So see if he has that code, and we can kind of port that code over also. And then I think the next step will be actually starting to create a data model around this e-commerce application. Of course, we will do the basic login and create account stuff. And what you'll see is I'll start to integrate content from other videos that I have, because I already have a video that does login. So we'll take that video that I've done that have logged in, we'll do a quick review of it there, and then we'll implement login here. And then I think I'm going to use a very cool tool called React Query, which I'll link below, to kind of show some folks as a way to use React Query to manage state. And we'll use that to get access to the data. And we'll just start off with a couple of basic products, and we'll just steal the images and the pricing and description from here to kind of force the products into Firebase, and then we'll put React Query on top of it to kind of get them to show up in the list. And then I think I also have some code on a sample cart that I've implemented. And once again, what it'll be is I'll take content from videos that I've already done, quickly go through it, reference the other video for you to watch if you want the details, and just kind of implement it here in the solution. So I think this is actually pretty cool. Once again, please check out Coder Crafts, I believe is a gentleman's name, where these styles, where these designs are coming from. And if anybody else has seen some other templates out there that's pretty interesting, they'd like to see ported to React or Vue, please drop a note below, and maybe it'll be the next one. Once again, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. On the next video, what I'll do is I'll compile and run the thing on Android for you Android folks out there that are feeling like you're left out. Thanks a lot. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.